Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. There's really only one team that we need to talk about in this video. I've talked about them a million times so far, but before I get into it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. A lot of y'all that watch these videos aren't subscribed, so even if you think you are, make sure in the section below. But of course, I'm talking about the Boston Celtics, who've basically dominated the NBA pretty much every single night that they've played so far, and tonight they had a matchup against the Phoenix Suns, the two 1 seeds in each conference. And when I think about these videos, when I'm going to make a recap, I look at potential narratives and think, oh, okay, maybe if this game's good, I could talk about Celtics Suns. Could that be an NBA Finals preview? Or if that game is good, could I talk about that team? I kind of look at it that way. So coming into this one, I expected this amazing matchup where we're going to see a back and forth battle between two of the best teams in the league so far, and maybe an NBA Finals preview. Instead, the Boston Celtics beat down the Phoenix Suns by 31 points in a game that was eerily similar to Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals against the Mavericks. It was so bad that people, me included, were calling it a rerun on Twitter. People were posting that meme where it says, Chris Paul hits a big three to cut the lead to 42. I think it was Bleacher Report or ESPN, one of them, made the Luka Doncic, Devin Booker smiling meme into Jason Tatum. It was so bad. The Suns were getting clowned, but even more so, people were talking about, oh my God, this Celtics team might be unstoppable. Phoenix even got reinforcements getting Chris Paul back in this one. They've been a top 10 defense and offense so far this season. They were at home. Betting websites had them pegged as the favorite. None of that mattered though, because Boston walked in and just completely destroyed them. And we can talk about what that means for Phoenix maybe a little bit after I talk about Boston, but we've got to focus on the Celtics, who have easily been by far not even close the best team in the NBA so far. They've just been dominating. They're 17-2 in their last 19 games. They've been the best offense in the league, and not just the best offense in the NBA this season. Right now, at this pace, they're the best offense ever in the history of the sport. And I will say a lot of the top offenses in NBA history have been over the last few seasons as teams score more and more points. But I think it says a little bit that the Celtics are playing the best offensive basketball we have seen in the history of basketball itself right now this season. They're of course led by Jason Tatum, who had 25, 5, and 2. He didn't even have to play 30 minutes for them to win in this ridiculous margin. He's been the MVP so far. Offensively, he's averaging over 30 points per game. He's better playmaking wise than he's ever been in the past. Defense, he's probably a top 3, 5-ish perimeter defender in the league so far this season. Jaylen Brown and him have made probably the best duo in the league so far. In fact, I don't really even think there's anybody off the top of my head that you can argue has been a better duo than these two guys so far. He had 25, 7, and 3. He's making an All-NBA case for the first time in his career and playing the best basketball he ever has. Malcolm Brogdon, who has been their sixth man and is probably in sixth man of the year running right now, he had 16, 3, and 5. Grant Williams had 6 of 6 shooting for 14 points. And those were all the guys that scored double digits, and they still won by 31. It was just a monster effort from them. Then we take a look at them defensively, where they held the Suns' core four of Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton to a combined 33 points. They could do absolutely nothing. So not only were the Celtics scoring basically every time they touched the ball, but the Suns couldn't get any offense going. The Celtics were stifling. And they did this with the corpse of Blake Griffin playing at center tonight, starting at center because there was no Al Horford. Luke Cornett was coming off the bench, and they have had all this success without Robert Williams. He has not played yet this season. He's coming off of a major injury, so even when he comes back, it'll probably take him some time to get back to the form that he was in at the end of last year. But if he didn't get hurt last season, he probably wins Defensive Player of the Year. And they haven't even had him yet, a Defensive Player of the Year level guy, yet they're still a top 10 defense. The best offense in the history of the sport, despite not having a high-level lob threat, an amazing athlete, someone who can pass out the center position, grab them offensive rebounds. They haven't had that guy, yet they're still 21-5 and on pace to win 66 games, which would be, I think, the 13th or 14th best record in the history of the sport. They have been absolutely unbelievable. Nobody is on their level right now. It's really not that close. And sure, there may be some regression at some point this year. We are still very early in the season. I'm not saying they're going to win 65, 66 games for sure, although that would not surprise me whatsoever with the way they're playing. But they also right now have 4 guys shooting over 45% from deep, which who knows if that's actually sustainable. Malcolm Brogdon shooting about 50% from deep. I don't know if that's sustainable particularly, but also when they get more help in the form of Robert Williams and they can make trades too, who knows? Right now, they're in rumors to maybe add a guy like Jakob Poeltl, who would probably be the best backup big in the league if they did acquire him, because I would imagine he would come off the bench for Robert Williams and maybe Al Horford if they go to the double big, or him and Al Horford would come off the bench if they decide to keep one of the guards in the lineup like a Derek White, depending on what Joe Mazzulla wants to do, which shout to Joe Mazzulla. I really thought they were going to lose a bit of a step with Ime Udoka being gone. They would have to adjust to not necessarily a new system, but just having a new coach in that position. It felt like it would take some time for them to gel. Once again, missing Robert Williams. Before the season, I had them pegged as the 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, although I did say in that video when I predicted it, I didn't think it was because the Celtics weren't good. I thought it was just because of these outside factors that would affect them, but it hasn't mattered. They've still easily played the best basketball so far for a young squad. You would also probably assume that they might have a bit of an NBA Finals run hangover, where they're a bit lackadaisical. They're coming off of this super high, and now they've got to go back to the slog of earlier regular season. So maybe they end up losing some games here and there. They kind of get disengaged defensively, offensively. They make some wrong plays and just kind of turn the ball over, get a bit lazy, and they end up racking up some early season losses here and there, but has not been the case whatsoever. I've never seen this Celtics squad as locked in. A lot of it does come back to Jason Tatum, who once again is the MVP at the moment. I really don't see much of an argument for anybody else the way that him and the Celtics are playing. This was supposed to be one of the best games that we've seen all season. 2 high-level squads at the top of their conference, and it didn't matter. The Celtics made them look like they were a G League squad out there, which once again is not the first time this has happened to the Suns. So maybe it's more of a them issue than a Celtics W, I guess you could say, or kind of just a good omen towards Boston. But I'm going to take it the other way, because I really believe this is a sign of how dominant Boston has been and can continue to be. Once again, I will admit I was wrong. I really thought the Celtics were going to struggle to begin the year. Has not been the case whatsoever. They're playing the best basketball, and I don't know who can beat them. If you put them in a playoff series against anybody in the league right now, I don't know if there are many squads that can push this to a 7-game series. Nobody's beating them. I'm not saying that any team I really think has too much of a chance at the moment, but I don't even know if it gets to 7 games the way that they're playing. The Milwaukee Bucks, who are a team we will talk about a bit later, I still feel like has a shot to take the Eastern Conference, but right now it feels like the Boston Celtics, then the Milwaukee Bucks a bit below them, and then everybody else way down below, because right now Boston has just been unbelievable. I can't wait to see Robert Williams back on this squad, maybe some of the acquisitions they make around the trade deadline too, because I'm sure GM Brad Stevens, who has done a ridiculous job, by the way, of building this team up. When he left as head coach, I was really worried because I thought he was a great one, and he really didn't have any experience in the front office. He immediately turned this team not into just a contender, but to the best team in the Eastern Conference right now, the best team in the NBA at the moment. They just came off a finals appearance, and right now they look poised to not just go back to the finals, but to this time end up taking home the Larry O'Brien trophy for the first time since 2008, once again overtaking the Lakers in most titles won by a franchise. I don't know if anybody's going to catch them right now. Taking a look at the rest of the league, the New York Knicks blew out the Atlanta Hawks, led by Julius Randle, who had 34 points, 17 boards, and 5 dimes. Easily his best game of the season. You had 23 points too from Quentin Grimes, who had his best game of the year. Love that he's getting more opportunities. A player that I felt like got kind of buried in the rotation for far too long. So happy he's getting some more run. Trae Young continues to struggle scoring the ball. He had just 19 points on 9 of 20 shooting. I'm starting to get a bit worried about his shooting slump that he's been in, because now it's not just a slump, it's like a quarter, almost like 3/8 of the season so far. So hopefully he's able to turn things around soon, but it doesn't look great from Trae in Atlanta at the moment. DeJounte Murray left this one early with an injury. Hopefully he's good. I didn't see any updates, at least, maybe there is one out there, but nothing came across my timeline. You also had Bogdan Bogdanovic shoot 0 of 10 from 3. AJ Griffin shot 3 of 13 from the field. Just overall, really rough night from the Atlanta Hawks. Not something you typically see when they go to New York. You had the Bucks beating the Kings, led by Giannis, who had 35, 7, and 6, with Drew Holiday putting up 31, 5, and 6 himself. Once again, this is one of the teams that if I had to pick anybody right now in the association to go up against Boston and beat them in a 7-game series, I'm taking the Milwaukee Bucks. That's probably the best bet that I have. Of course, they've got Giannis. They've also got Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton. He came back and he had a solid game tonight with 14, 6, and 6. He's been looking more and more like himself as of late. However, once again, it is still Boston, pretty much above everybody, but Milwaukee does have that championship pedigree, so who really knows? For the Sacramento Kings, they were led by Domantas Sabonis, who had 23, 12, and 7. De'Aaron De'Aaron Fox has been slipping a little bit after having a career start to the year. He's been on a bit of a cold stretch. He put up just 15, 2, and 2, but his partner in Sabonis is making an all-star case continuously. Then we had the Pelicans taking out the Pistons, which in itself isn't super noteworthy. However, a reason it is notable is because with this W as well as the Suns' loss, New Orleans moves into the top seed in the Western Conference. Once again, they've been missing Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, whoever you name on that roster. They've missed 1, 2, or even 3 guys a lot of nights, but they continue to stay afloat. In this one without Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson put up 29, 10, and 5, while Trey Murphy added 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. One of the most underrated players in the league, Trey Murphy III. Shout to the UVA legend. But yeah, New Orleans continues to make strides, sitting at the top of the conference right now. Amazing progress to see from them. And when they get fully healthy, they're only going to get better. For Detroit, Killian Hayes had a double-double, 17 points and 12 dimes, so he continues to turn around his season. To wrap up the rest of the results, the Utah Jazz get a crazy last-second win off of a dunk by Simone Fontecchio. I believe that's how his name is pronounced. If not, please correct me in the comment section below. But this is a huge one for them to stop their skid. The Magic got an overtime win over the LA Clippers. They didn't have Kawhi Leonard or Paul George for most of overtime as they elected to sit them to keep them healthy, which ended up costing them, as well as a few really bad mistakes down the stretch. The Raptors blow out the Lakers without Anthony Davis or LeBron James. They're led by Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet, who each had 25 points. The Minnesota Timberwolves end up blowing a 20-point lead to the Indiana Pacers, but then come back from blowing that lead to once again get a 6-point win. Anthony Edwards had 26, 8, and 8, while Gobert had 16 and 21. Big performance from the two of them, as well as D'Angelo Russell. And nice for them to, not just blow the lead, but also come back from that blown lead, although they probably shouldn't blow the lead in the first place. You also had the Bulls being the Wizards, the Grizzlies blew out the Thunder, and the Nets defeat the Hornets after going up big, and then being another team that nearly blew a lead, but ends up holding on. That's all I've got for y'all tonight. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. Let me know in the comment section what you think about the Boston Celtics. Do you agree with me that they're on another tier at the moment, that they're very clearly the best team in the league? And if you had to pick any team right now to win the NBA Finals, is it the Celtics? And if it's not them, tell me who else you have winning it when we get to it in June. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real One Say back.